Hello, and welcome to Big Sound Small Town. I'm your host, Sandy Carlton. The small towns and communities of Cleveland County, North Carolina have long been a hotbed of music in all its many forms. Several Cleveland County musicians have found commercial success and critical acclaim in the music industry. Yeah, everybody knows that Earl Scruggs, Don Gibson, Patty Loveless, and Alicia Bridges are from Cleveland County. Donald Byrd, too. So this is not a podcast about them. This is a podcast about the musicians who are still here to keep music alive here. This is the stories, and you need to know them and know the people who are making the music. This is not your normal podcast. Banjo, banjo, banjo. This podcast is set in Cleveland County, North Carolina, which is the birthplace of one of the most famous banjo players in the world, Earl Scruggs. There are a lot of banjo players here, and they're all good. In fact, we can call Shelby, North Carolina, Banjo Town. And my guest today is one of those. Mr. J. Max Mckee. He has a really good story. Give it a listen. Today on Big Sound Small Town, I'm in the beautiful home of J. Max Mckee and his lovely wife and musical partner, Tina. Yeah. And I thank y'all for letting me be here today.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I'm here to find out about your musical journey. You got awards all over your house. You've been a fixture in this town seemingly forever.
A long time.
I would tell the world that you're an entertainer. You're both entertainers. You're a banjo player, guitar player, entrepreneur, actually a club owner. So we're going to find out how all of this came about.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to start with where did your love for music come? When did you first start playing?
A little while in my life, we lived over in Lincoln, North Carolina, and my relatives had a farm over there. And my Uncle Lonnie was a choir director. And they had that old house back then, didn't have an underpinning under it.
Right.
So after church on Sunday, he'd come home. They had a big old table, you know, the whole family, you can imagine.
Yeah.
Back then, a big family eat a lot. And
Right.
my Uncle Red would come over. So they'd get out on this old side porch, and they'd sit there, and he had this big old blonde Gibson guitar. I loved that guitar. And they'd get out there and sing, "Don't Let Me Cross Over," and "I'll Fly Away." Well, I'd get under that old porch.
Yeah.
And see, I couldn't play, you know, but I was just taking in all this music. And Uncle Lonnie, I can't remember if it was Camels or Luckies he smoked, but he'd just take a puff off of it and they'd go picking and sing. He'd just throw it in the yard. Well, I'd just snatch and get that
Oh, yeah.
and I'd lay back and I said, if heaven's any better than this, I can't stand it.
That's right.
So that's where it got started. I started playing, I was about 7 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that. Now, when you started playing, did you learn the songs that they were playing, or did you just, What did you when you started playing guitar? What did you start playing? I mean, what
I
kind
can
of
tell you
song?
the very first song.
Yeah,
that
that's
I
what
learned.
I like that stuff.
Yeah, You Are My Sunshine.
No, that's a good
Yeah,
song.
I remember them singing that on that, and I could keep that tune, in my head. And I didn't know how they was making them chords, so I figured out how to tune the guitar where you could just take your fingers and lay on it and play it. And so I learned, I figured out, I said, first thing I got to do is learn how to play rhythm and all, and then I can figure out the rest.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while, and I got to seeing him put his hands there. And then I got a hold of one of them chord books back then. I called it a big note chord book.
Yeah.
And I learned them chords, and then the rest is history. I just learned on my own, figured out bar chords and all that stuff.
Then did you start playing around with the guitar? I mean, did you start playing with people or by yourself or playing then?
Yeah, back then there wasn't nobody around. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I just played by myself.
Y'all get together or something like that and play different places. That what it was, kind of like on the porch.
Well, yeah, they stayed on it. He never did. He was choir director at church. He never did go anywhere as far as I know.
Yeah.
And me, I was about 15 years old, and we'd back in Shelby then.
Yeah.
This is my hometown. This is where I was born.
Right.
And so we were back here, and my mother, she lived at Rock Hill.
Yeah.
I stayed with grandparents raised me. In
Yeah,
fact, I just wrote a song, Grandma's Rocking Chair. Yeah, I did, because I love my grandma.
Yeah, I love mine too.
My mother would come and get me and take me down there, and they went clubbing back in those days.
Right.
Well, see, I couldn't go in there at 15 years old. But when they shut down, they found out I played guitar and could sing a little bit, so they'd lock the door and bring me in, sit me up on the bar, and there I was.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess that at that point, that was pretty much country music type of thing you was doing there, wasn't it?
Yeah, rock and roll. And Jim Hambrick was the first man that ever hired me to play electric guitar. Sure was.
Oh, really?
He was from here, right here in Shelby.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And he had I can't remember the name of that band, and they played the Boiler Springs Skating Ring. That was my first really paying job.
Right.
Yeah. Boiler Springs Skating Ring.
That pretty much started it too.
Oh,
then,
I
didn't
love
it?
it. Yeah,
I mean,
I
after
love
that was you decided that's what you wanted to do, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
And so I did that and worked in a couple, even had my own band for a little while. I can't remember what we called it, Junior Logan and Roger McNeely was in it. And then my uncle said, I need to take you and let you hear this guy play banjo over here behind the Lily Mill on Mitcham Street. Okay. We went over to Bill and Ruby Deskin's house.
Oh, yeah.
And Hubert Davis.
Hubert Davis.
And he just had surgery, lung surgery, and got out of the hospital. And he said, I'll pick for you. Can you hand me that banjo over there? And he just swung around the bed. He ain't supposed to be doing this, so he got that. When I heard him pick, I said, uh-oh, I got a problem now. Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, I did.
So how did you I guess you got you a banjo.
Later, I didn't right then. For a few more years, I still played the electric guitar.
Right.
And moved along a little bit. I was 21 years old when I got the banjo. I got it in March of '68.
Okay.
And in fact, we're fixing to do a 50-year project. Just the banjo now.
Oh, just the banjo.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Banjo. That's really neat. Yeah.
And but anyway, Hoyt Brooks showed me a little bit on the banjo, and then I went back to Hubert. And Hubert gave me 2 lessons and said, "You on your own now." Oh boy, here we go.
You must have paid attention.
You know what? I was possessed with that thing. I'd stay up all night long and work a job next day, and quick as I get off, I'd go right back and listen to records, Earl Scruggs,
Is
people
that
like
the
that.
old dropping? Did you have to drop the needle to do that? Or
Yeah,
did you,
yeah. I had some 33 1/3s, and I had some old 78s and 45s. And that was a record, that big old hole in the center.
Oh, yeah.
And Earl Scruggs, Hubert Davis, Don Reno, Sonny Osborne. They were my heroes. They still are my heroes.
Yeah, that's where the heroes. That's banjo heroes, no doubt.
That's exactly right. Yes.
So then you moved on into bluegrass. Is that what you did then?
Yeah, moved right on into
Tell that
bluegrass.
story. You went to Hubert, to the Mississippi, when you moved to Mississippi. You went down there.
Yeah, Hattiesburg. Yeah, he hadn't been gone 6 months. He had moved to Hattiesburg playing down there, and they'd worked Louisiana and around. So I go down there, and we go on down to Walker, Louisiana with me. It's a festival down there. Lester Flatt and the Nashville Grass was a headliner. So I was standing beside the stage there, and they called Hubert name out. Lester did, so come pick one with him. He said, "You go pick with him." He gave me his banjo. I said, "Hubert ain't been playing for 6 months." I said, "Oh, just play what you know. Act like you know all these songs, you know." So I appreciate Lester Flatt. He could tell, I hadn't been playing long.
Right.
But he asked me my name. I told him my name, J. Max Mckee. And he said, what do you want to pick? And I said, Mr. Flatt, I just love to play that Lonesome Road Blues with you.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So all weekend I got to pick the songs, and they thought I knew all kind of songs. I didn't know many.
You just picked the ones you knew, didn't you?
Yeah, that's all you could do, you know. So
That's
that
great.
really set me on fire right
I
there.
bet that did.
Yeah.
So is that the point you decided you wanted your own band, or was you still wanting to play with other people?
Well, I wanted my own band, but, you know, it didn't work that way. I worked with different groups, you know.
Right.
And one of the biggest groups around close here was out of Charlotte, Dixie Mountain Grass.
Yeah, I remember.
And I tell you, them guys, they could sing like Lester and Earl.
Yeah.
We'd do that kind of show, or Jim and Jesse,
Right,
or,
yeah.
you know, just all different groups. So they found out I could play all them styles. So I had a home, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'll tell you a good story on that. I was staying over in Charlotte, and they called over there, and this is way before my wife time now. I was at my girlfriend's mother's house, you know. And I don't know whether she was going with Omi or not, but anyway, he called over there, and they were talking, so I've been looking for it. I said, what channel's that banjo music on out here? That was me. I was sitting in there picking, you know. Said, that's my daughter's boyfriend. Said, man, we looking for, send him over here. So I go over there, and they got this reel-to-reel set up, and next thing I know, they said, good morning, we want to welcome you to whatever radio station. I don't know what's happening here. And so I auditioned right there on the radio.
Oh,
Sure did, and got the job. And they worked me, I'm telling you, we worked all over the place. Done 3 radio shows a week.
Oh, yeah,
And
that's pretty good too.
That gave me a lot of experience, you know, and they were patient with me.
Yeah.
Super guys to work with. Super.
Yeah. Well, you know, playing with people that are better than you helps you to be only
Exactly.
better when you're first learning and all. I mean, that's the best way to learn.
Right.
Because you got to hold your own with them. I mean, you know, so.
Then I hooked a job for a while with J.B. Gordon and his brother, and he owned a tavern. Well, we had a little problem. We was playing bluegrass, but they wanted to fight on Friday and Saturday. Now, you know how that is. And I said, oh, man, I'm here to play. But to make a long story short, this is where it really helped my career, being in there. Everybody was good to me in there, got no grumbles. But we learned if we entertained, we didn't have no problem. And that's how I learned to entertain.
That's where the entertaining part of it came.
Yep, that's where I learned right there.
Did
And
you start moving to the front during that period, or was you still?
Yeah, I kept moving to the front, and after them, I went off on my own. Me and my mother, and this before me and Tina got married.
Right.
And you know, I had different musicians
Right.
with me, and then we got married, and so Tina took the guitar up, and the rest is history. We've been a duo for a long time.
Did you play guitar before?
No.
Max teach you how?
No. Well, it was really a promise I made to a friend.
Oh, okay.
Larry Jolly. He played clubs, I guess his Max was in clubs then. And he had lung cancer, and he was at the house after treatment. And he said, will you promise me something? And I said, sure. But he said, tell me your promise before I say what it is. I said, okay, I'll promise. And he said, learn to play the guitar. Max can't depend on me.
Ah.
So he left. That was a promise I made. So he left. I said, Max, show me chords. That's history. But again, I was lucky because I've been playing with musicians at the time. I had been playing for years.
Oh, okay. So you've been
We
around
had Avery
music.
Hester, yeah. He,
Yeah.
Avery, Hubert Davis,
Yeah.
and Ruby said, put me on finger and thumb, leave her alone. That thing.
Yeah, that's what Hubert was.
Leave her alone.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And of course, back then I had to I had to play like Lester Flatt,
Oh yeah.
finger and thumb.
Yeah, finger and thumb. That's not
So-
a bad way to. That's not a bad way to play.
No.
No, and I had to have speed too.
Yeah.
So
You know,
that's how I started.
that's a pretty good way to start. I mean, there's.
I just thought of another good thing about Hubert. I just loved Hubert Davis. I mean, they took me in like I was their family. I went to Nashville. I'd fill in for him when he was sick, did it all. And I stayed at their house. Said, you ain't staying nowhere but here, your family, you know.
Right.
But I learned bugle call rag, see.
Yeah.
So I went over there one night, and I said, Hubert, I can play bugle call rag. He said, let me hear you play it. So I played it, and he said, That ain't right. So he got the guitar, and this is a true story. His wife worked the job while he was here for a while. She went to work at 10 o'clock. And when she come in from next morning at 6 o'clock, other than us stopping, going to the restroom, getting a cup of coffee, we played Bugle Call Rag plumb to the next morning. And when she walked in and I played, she said, "You got that right now." That's a true story. He had patience, you know.
That's real patience.
Yeah.
That is really patience.
Hitting a stadium when you were staying with
Yeah,
him at
you know,
Nashville, you and Mike, was it Mike Compton?
Yeah, I went to Nashville,
Yeah.
and I was blessed. I had a lot of good jobs offered up there, and sometimes I think I wished I'd took it, but then I get thinking about what Carl Perkins said. Carl said, I had a wreck, and that hurt my career a little bit to where I could have been, but said, you know what? God's got me where he wants me,
right.
Or I'd have went on. So I feel the same way now.
Yeah.
But anyway, I came to Hubert's there at 76, and Mike Compton came at the same time. You know, Mike Compton's a killer mandolin player, a musician, fine guy.
Yes, he is.
I think a lot of him. In fact, I'm planning on trying to see him this year before it's over with. But we'd just get upstairs. We stayed up there, and me and him would pick all night long. That's how I really learned to play wheel hoss and stuff like that. Yeah, I learned a lot off Mike Compton.
Yeah.
But if we did it wrong, he had this broom and he'd hit that ceiling, boom, boom, boom. He said, "Y'all got to do that again. That ain't quite right, And I'm telling you what, we learned a lot of music up there because we had the man downstairs. He recorded wheel hoss and all that with Bill. Yeah.
So, well,
I was blessed.
You are blessed because that's,
God's been good to me. He really has.
That's a good way to learn it. I mean, and to have somebody to tell you you're doing it wrong.
Right.
A lot of people just let you roll on. So that's a good person to go, whoa, that's not right,
Yeah.
But I'll help you get it right.
And it did make me mad because I was wanting to learn,
That's how you learn.
Back when I started, we was talking about records. We didn't have YouTube and all this
Right.
now.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd have to slow them records down if I could. And by doing that, I can pick like Earl some, but I come up with my own style too. So it really worked out real good for me. It really did.
So, all right, so
okay.
you put yourself a band together.
Okay.
Then okay, so did you start just playing local? I mean, you started branching out. I know you played all over the place, but how did that happen?
We started out down South Carolina, most around Gaffney. I don't know whether you remember Marcel's.
Oh, yeah, I forgot all about
I
that.
worked for Marcel. I loved that Marcel.
Yeah.
And we did all that, and then Tina came along, and then we got married.
Right.
And then I'd worked with Benny Gordon,
Yeah.
and he'd moved back to Florida, and he called me one day, and he said, "Look here, do you want to work for Bluegrass Festival?" "Yeah, I'd like to do that." "Okay, I'm gonna get you some." And next thing I know, we was around Titusville, Florida, Tampa, Florida, and I mean, we played all over the great state of Florida.
Was it two of y'all always?
Yeah. Then my mother
Yeah.
was
That's
with
where
me,
I was going with
and
that,
she
yeah.
played bass,
Yeah.
and Tina played guitar, and I played banjo, and Marty Francis played dobro some for us. Junior Morrison played fiddle.
Yeah.
But once you get to traveling, they couldn't,
Could go
their
all the
jobs
time.
wouldn't let them
Right.
go, and I was blessed to where I could.
Right.
And so we just kept doing that. And the strange part of our whole music career, out of everything we did, we didn't try to do nothing. We just loved what we did.
Right.
But we ended up down at the depot down in Hartwell, Georgia. I don't remember how we got there, but they didn't know how a three-piece band, we got down to a three,
Right.
and we'd entertain,
Yeah.
go over. So we went down there and played for Bobby Hall, didn't we? Am I right so far? You tell me. And but we went down there and played, and there was a promoter there at night named Billy Johnson, and he put a festival on down at Marietta, Georgia, fairground. He said, "I don't know how I'm going to pay you, but I got to have you down there to see if you'll work, and if you'll work, be good." So we go down there, sure enough, and a hush falls over the crowd. But when we get through, he comes and says, "I don't know why I keep forwarding you or not."
That's good. Yeah.
So the moral of the story, I'm not bragging about that. We took a little three-piece band. Next thing you know, we was playing all over the place. It's really shocking me to think about it.
Well, now, while we're on tell me your Georgia connection. I know there's something special there for you about Georgia. So we're talking Georgia, so let's go ahead and talk about it.
We played all over Georgia. People like Billy Johnson, Chuck Langley. But anyway, who invited
Southern
us?
Breeze,
Yeah, who invited us to the Hall of Fame down there?
Chuck and Cricket.
Yeah, Chuck and Cricket Langley. So they invited us to the Hall of Fame, and they had some bluegrass there when we got there, you know.
Yeah.
And you got to wear tux and all back
Right.
those days. So we go in there, and I go over to where the bluegrass is, and they have a few bluegrass bands in there, and I knew some of them, and I said, do y'all pick, well, just professionals, you know, we don't jam or nothing over here. Oh, okay. I was just trying to feel my way around.
Right.
So I come out, and Helen Burke comes over, and Helen used to work the opera and
Yeah,
stuff in
yeah.
Nashville. And she said, I got a band for you, you gonna sing and play with. Okay. I said, who? And said, well, it's an electric band in here. Steel guitar, and I love that stuff. You know?
Yeah, I love steel.
So I go over there, and when I get up there, I said, can y'all do Amanda? I just love Amanda, you
Yeah.
know. So we did that, and I said, wow, these guys here, they can play. And then I done Don't Worry About Me, and I was cutting up on it. And I finally, we got through, I looked at the steel player, and I said, who in the world do y'all play for? I said, oh man, we're Ernest Tubbs band. I said, wow, I can't believe I walked into this. And I love that kind of music, you know.
Oh, yeah, they could play.
But they took me then, Chuck did, and told Johnny Carson was over the whole thing. Said, look, he needs to be in here. And he said, well, he ain't got a Georgia address. Said, we're telling you we need J. Max and Tina. So anyway, they had a meeting and got to tell them where all we played in Georgia.
Right.
It went on and on and on. And finally, Johnny said, that's enough. That's enough. He's got an address down here. That's enough. So I went in. I was inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2005. And they thought that I found out the reason why, and I'm not bragging, it makes me feel good that they thought I could help bluegrass a little bit. And so years has went by now, and bluegrass has really blew. Not on account of me, it's just more people got
Right.
coming, and it really got more friendlier. It sure did.
Yeah, it did. And
Yep.
you know, it's bigger in Georgia now than it's probably ever been.
It sure is.
At the time, at that time, it wasn't as popular as it is now.
No.
So,
I remember one time, you know, I played for Johnny Short one time.
yeah, I know.
Boy,
John.
I liked that Johnny Short.
Yeah, I knew John.
And I played banjo or whatever he wanted
Right.
to play. But we went down to Toccoa, Georgia one time. This is no way 14 time. And so we went down there, and I played one song on the banjo, and I didn't know it. This lady said, I don't want no banjo music here. Next thing I know, John said, you don't play that electric guitar? And I said, yes, sir. Years later, he finally told me what it was. She didn't want that banjo there.
Oh, that's
That's
fine.
all it was.
So
Yeah.
you play that. You
So-
could play the guitar, so that helped.
I was blessed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were blessed.
Yeah,
You were
yeah.
blessed.
Sure was.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's how the Hall of Fame got started, and after that, well,
Yeah,
Tina got inducted
Yeah.
in, my mother,
that's great.
and she's got awards from there, and I've got awards from there, so.
Well, now let's go to the Bluegrass Inn. How did
Okay,
that come about?
we can do that. That was a Hubert Davis thing, wasn't it? Bluegrass Inn starting.
Well, we'd already started working in Florida and traveling all over Florida. And most of our contracts were a year ahead.
Right.
Okay, my dad got to get sick. So we fulfilled them contracts, but we knew we had to stay close.
Right.
So Hubert says, well, why don't you open another Bluegrass Inn? Number 2 needs to in
Yeah.
Shelby.
Yeah.
And that put you close in.
Right.
See how that works. So that's what we done, and we were out there 10 years.
A long time.
Long
A
time.
long time.
And first one we was at Mooresville.
Oh, we was out there longer than 10 years.
You know, let's see, we was at Pokeville one time
Yeah, a few months.
for a few months.
And Mooresville for a while.
Yeah, before this building come available.
Moseboro,
Moseboro,
yeah.
for this building come available.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we were there. I don't know how long we were there.
That was a good opportunity, though, not to have to travel and get to play at home and then get to bring people in to play with you, you know, too.
Yeah, I missed the road.
And
Yeah, I did.
we couldn't answer the people who've been in there. You know,
I
we
know.
Carl Story,
Yeah.
Clyde Moody.
Clyde
You know,
Moody.
Clyde started, we met Clyde in Nashville.
Huh.
And Clyde Moody was a fine gentleman. That's the only words I know to use for that man. I just loved him. He called me, you know, and I'd call him.
He worked with Arthur Smith there for a while.
You know, he was Bill Monroe, you know.
Yeah, I know
I'm
he
thinking
was.
he was a second bluegrass boy. And then he left Bill, and I believe they called him the Waltz King, didn't they?
Yeah, I believe they
Shenandoah.
did. Yeah,
Yeah.
they did.
But Clyde, he said, I'd come to Shelby. So I'd like to come to Shelby and pick with y'all. And sure enough, he did.
He did?
And then we got started, and he said, you know, you need a building stretcher. Said, this is good here. So he got, what, 3 times a year he'd come? And then the next thing I know, here's Jim Eanes.
Yeah.
And let's see, Curly Seckler.
Yeah, Curly.
Yeah, we got Curly Seckler room here and the Jim Eanes room. They stayed here.
They all had their favorite rooms in the house.
Yeah, that's good.
And then Josh Graves, Uncle Josh, Kenny Baker.
Yeah, Kenny Baker.
Carl Story. Wow.
That's bluegrass history there.
Yeah.
Randall Hilton.
Randall stayed here a lot and played there.
He had Keith House.
Eddie Adcock.
Yeah,
Adcock used to play out there.
Oh, yeah.
And Mike Lattimore, you remember Mike?
Yeah, I do.
Listen, I thought a lot of Mike.
Yeah.
He was an entertainer.
He was an entertainer.
Yeah, he was a real musician, entertainer.
And then Joe Franklin. I don't know if you heard of Joe.
Yeah.
He was
Buster
on American.
Buster, yeah.
Yeah, he's been out there. I love that Buster.
Now Joe was on like American Bandstand.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So back in that day.
Yeah.
Was what Joe was.
That's too cool too.
Yeah. Joe liked that finger song I was telling you about.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, tell me about that finger song.
Well, we'd been out on the road. I can't remember 2 or 3 days, and we come in. It was late. I know more. I got on that couch there, and I heard a.
Since this is going up on December the 3rd, 2019, here's Max with a little bit of Christmas music. Max is not only a banjo player, he's an entertainer and a multi-instrumentalist. Here's just a little bit of his entertaining you with his guitar.
Hi, my name's J. Max Mckee. I hope you're enjoying this CD. I'd like to introduce you to another girl of mine. Her name's Marie Mckee. Earl Scruggs has even picked Marie. Randall Hilton has picked Marie. Elvis Presley's picked Marie. Now I'm going to pick Marie. And we're going to do you the 9-pound hammer. Pick Marie.
All right, now you were just telling me about a finger song you have.
Yeah, we'd been out on the road 2 or 3 days and come in, and there's some new folks that bought a house right above us up here, and I'd laid out on that couch, and about that time I heard a 45 automatic go off. I said, you know what, that ain't good.
No.
So I dialed 911, and when I do, it said, what is your emergency? And I said, well, and they said, let us put you on hold. I said, wow, I could write a song called They Give You the Finger in my hometown, and that's what I did. And my buddy Charlie Van Hoy, he was police chief here. He was a great guy.
Right.
I was telling him about it, and he said, I'm going to fire whoever done that. And I said, no, don't do that. I wrote a good song called They'll Give You the Finger in my hometown. And it's a fun song. I want you to know I love my hometown.
Oh,
now.
yeah, oh, yeah.
But this is, you know, entertainment, gets you away from the world for a while,
does.
and it's good for the soul.
It does.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's harder to play in your own hometown than it is
It's
for
tough.
strangers. You know, I mean, it really is.
As many places I've played, it's harder for me to play in my hometown than anywhere.
I agree. I agree totally with that. I mean, it's harder.
And I don't know why.
I don't know either. It's harder for me say I've written a new song, it's harder for me to play it for people I know and love than it is from a bunch of strangers, because I don't care what they like it or they don't.
Yeah.
But you know, it kind of hurts my feelings when somebody close to me don't like it. You know.
Yeah, that makes it. I understand.
So you know, so it's the same way about playing. I don't like to play in front of people I know so much either.
Right.
But there's a lot of musicians that way. I don't know why that is.
I'll tell you somebody else I do not want to forget that came to the Bluegrass Inn, and I traveled road, Bean Blossom, Indiana with him. And then, of course, our bands played Bean Blossom. It's Raymond Fairchild, king of the Smoky Mountain Banjo player, legendary. Me and him like brothers.
Yeah.
I just love Raymond, Shirley, whole family.
I used to see him up here a lot.
Yeah, he's a good man.
Yeah.
Yeah, good man.
That's
So I do not want to forget Raymond. No. He brought a lot of people that didn't know the Bluegrass Inn was here.
Right.
He brought a lot of people in that always came back, doggone it.
Well, now, let me ask you, what does the future hold for you? What you got ahead of you?
Well, now, I'm leaving in the morning. We'll be gone 4 days, West Virginia.
Yeah.
4 different places. So I'm still out there and traveling.
Well, you know, I see a lot of people, talk to a lot of people doing this, and a lot of them don't get to play when they get to be, I don't want you to take this wrong, but you know, we are getting older.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And you're lucky when you get to play out, and that's one of the things I love. That tells you that you're doing something right. You're still going out and playing. I mean, because so many people don't, and you know how many people that I'd like to do this podcast with is not here to do it with anymore. So
that's
I mean,
right.
I feel lucky, and I feel lucky that you guys have given me the time of day to do this today.
Oh yeah,
because it's a big part of not just bluegrass music in Cleveland County, but music in Cleveland County. Yes, history. It's part of history.
Exactly.
And you know, it's it'll slip away before we know it.
Mm-hmm. You know, I woke up. It ain't been long ago, and I got to realizing. I said, March. I've been playing the banjo 50 years, and it's remarkable. And all the songs I've written.
Right.
I said, I can remember when I first started. I'd say, Hubert, how am I going to learn this, and how am I going to learn that? I don't even think about it. I just whatever I do. I don't know how to explain all that, but yeah, 50 years was March.
Well, let me
and
ask you.
And I thank the good Lord for the 50 years.
When you write, do you always write on the banjo?
No.
Okay. I'm just curious about that.
I always thought we needed an anniversary song, and I got thinking about Tina because I love my wife. And so I wrote a song called A Sign of Love. Yeah, I've done some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And we got an old graveyard at Bowling Springs, some property next where Earl Scruggs used to pick, and they farmed over there and had an old graveyard on there, and I got to clean that thing off, and it was some of their relatives there.
Right.
And I got to thinking, you know, them old stones crack and all like that. You can't hardly read them. I said, if you've been saved, it leads to a beautiful home. So I sat down and wrote a gospel song called The Only Way Home.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
I did that.
So you can write those things. You get an inspiration, you go and write it with whatever's available, right?
Yeah, you know, Randall Hilton told me something one time. He wrote for Vern Gosling and people like that. And he said, you know, right now, with all the instrumentals and all the writing you're doing with all this stuff, he said, you better use it now, because when it cools off, it's going to cool off.
It does cool off.
And it did, and I went for a long time, and here lately I started writing again. I got one now I'm working on, an instrumental called John the Baptist Coming Out of the Wilderness. Yeah, something different, you know. And Grandma's Rocking Chair, and I'm writing another about a little church up in the mountains.
So you're still writing, that's a good thing.
Yeah, but I just, sometimes it'll come to you, and again it don't.
Yeah.
And then Tina gave me an idea. She put me to work on the dryer. It quit. I said, my wife thinks I'm the Maytag man. So I done got me another idea.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
So.
Well, I tell you, I do thank you both for letting me come here and get a chance to do this. This has been my pleasure. It's made me have a wonderful day, and I can't wait for the people to hear this. Thank y'all both very much.
Thank you, Sandy.
All right.
Very much.
And just like that, we finished another episode of Big Sound, Small Town. I hope you'll tune in to the next podcast. It's been fun. Thank you.